After starting off the season 4-0, we had a tough matchup at home against LSU, and they had a ridiculous offense, so we would have to put up some points. Our defense could not get a stop, but we were matching LSU blow for blow as Jacob Bostic was balling out. I was having one of my sharpest days throwing the ball as I continued to move us downfield, and my high school teammate Craig Ostrander got open deep for a huge touchdown at the end of half. Unfortunately, we sputtered in the second half as LSU kept scoring, and we were down 10 with just a few minutes left. Thankfully, we were able to get into the end zone after a huge gain by Vanderbrush, but LSU answered with a field goal, so we only had 40 seconds to score a touchdown. Luckily, that was plenty of time for me as I found Bostic once again deep downfield and threw open Craig Ostrander on the next play to get us to the goal line. With time ticking down under 20 seconds, I did what I had to do and scrambled into the end zone for the go-ahead touchdown. LSU had a chance at a last-second Hail Mary, but Xavier Nwankpa picked it out of the sky, and we escaped with a huge win behind my nearly perfect performance. Our next game in Big Ten play was at Michigan State, who is having a terrible season so far. I got off to a good start as we got the pass game going, and later in the drive, I rolled out and outsped everybody to put us up by 10 early. But Michigan State stormed back with 17 unanswered, and we were fighting for our lives midway through the third quarter. I found Bostic deep up the seam, and then on this play action, I rolled out and delivered a perfect ball on the run to tie up the game. The Spartans reclaimed the lead with a field goal, but I was fighting hard to keep our undefeated season alive as I drove us back into the red zone. I was going to win this game any way I could, so I was using my legs, and with time taking under 2 minutes, I escaped pressure once again to score another game-winning touchdown. I was the clutchest player in the country, and we needed it as our Big Ten schedule was proving to be tougher than it looked. We headed to Northwestern for a miserable rainy game, and things were going terribly as we were down 11 midway through the third. Our offense was struggling, and this Vanderbrush drop on a wide-open pass turned into a killer interception. I was frustrated with my receivers, and the drops continued as Vanderbrush couldn't hold on to a third down pass, and my executive decision to go for it on fourth down backfired as Bostic let one go right through his hands. I was just trying to make something happen with time running down when this safety teleported to the ball for a pick, and we had taken a devastating first loss of the season against the Wildcats. After our terrible loss, we absolutely needed to win against Purdue at home, and things got off to a bad start as they jumped out to a lead, but I hit a big completion to Vanderbrush, who was trying to make up for his drops from last game. I hit Caleb Johnson on the goal line to cut down on the lead, and with time ticking down in the half, I needed to make another play. Purdue's coverage was terrible, and Vanderbrush got wide open as I hit him in stride, and we came up with a huge score before halftime. On second down, I saw that there was nobody on the right side of the field and took off. This Purdue team may have been scrappy, but they had nobody who could keep up with me in the open field as I jetted down the sidelines for a huge touchdown run. That would give us the push we needed to escape with a much needed win, and we were staying alive in the college football playoff race. We were back in the top 10, and we were on the road against an absolutely terrible 0-8 Indiana team. This was one of the easiest runs of my career as the Hoosiers had no one who could keep up with me, and I just needed to avoid one weak tackle attempt for the touchdown. Later on in the first quarter, we added to our lead as I delivered a touchdown pass to Jacob Bostic, and this one was looking like it was going to be a rout. The Hoosiers couldn't manage to get on the board, and I hit Bostic again for his second touchdown of the game. We played conservative and crushed down the clock for the rest of the day, and we beat down Indiana on the road behind my perfect performance. Our next game was the biggest of the season so far as we were taking on number 7 Ohio State at home. This was going to be a tough game as their offense was killing us early on, but I was able to tie it up as I got loose on a scramble, and great blocking downfield allowed me to walk in for an easy touchdown. The Buckeyes answered right back, and midway through the third, we were struggling to keep it within one score. Ohio State's offense was great, but their defense had plenty of holes in it, and the scramble had been open all day as I scored another rushing touchdown. Our defense finally came up with the stop we needed, and late in the third, we had the chance to go up by 2 scores. On third and goal, I trusted Caleb Johnson to get into the end zone on this dump off, and he made a man miss to put us up by 10. Of course, the Buckeyes got a quick touchdown, so we needed to run out the clock as I picked up a huge third down conversion, but after they burned their timeouts, we got stuffed on 3rd and 4. It only took the Bucs 1 minute to score a go-ahead touchdown, so once again, I had to lead a game-winning touchdown drive. I didn't have a lot of time to work with, but with less than 30 seconds left, I hit a huge completion to Bostic on the sideline. On 3rd and 10, we needed a big play, and this time, Ostrander was able to create some separation and muscled into the end zone for yet another game-winning touchdown. We had come up with a clutch win once again, and I'd had one of the best games of my career against the Buckeyes. We were in for another big test on the road against Michigan in the snow, and we got things going with a completion to Vanderbrush, who is emerging as one of the best tight ends in the country. On 1st and goal, Caleb Johnson punched it in, and it looked like we were going to cruise to victory as we followed it up with another touchdown to Addison Ostrega on the next drive. But Michigan clawed their way back into the game as I threw a very bad pick, and the Wolves Wolverines cashed it in to take the lead. It seemed like I was in this position every game, so I was unfazed as I began to march us down the field. With time running down under 2 minutes, I got out of the pocket to escape the pressure and ran for a big third down conversion, hitting a nasty juke to get some extra yards at the end. On second and goal, my third string tight end brick-handed a touchdown, and I was running for my life on third down. I got a throw off for a completion, but Ostrenga got obliterated to make it 4th and goal. I had no intentions of throwing the ball whatsoever, and I did what I had to do to get into the end zone for another go-ahead touchdown. Michigan had one last chance to tie it up, but thankfully we were able to pick their deep pass out of the sky, and we got out of the big house with a huge win. There were snowstorms all over the Midwest as we took on a putrid Nebraska team back in Kinnick Stadium. All that stood between us and the Big Ten championship game were the Huskers, and I was not going down easy as I broke out of a sack and ran for my life to pick up a first down. I punched it in with a quick pass to my main man Ostrander, and he was feeling it today as he got off the press and made an absolutely insane one-handed catch. We turned his big play into 3 points, but couldn't quite pull away from Nebraska, and we were protecting a 4-point lead late in the game. Thankfully, I was able to find Ostrander again for another big gain as we got a touchdown with the fullback dive to punch our ticket to the Big Ten championship game. I was hanging around on the Heisman watch after a string of great performances, and I had the chance to show that I deserved it in this game. The Big Ten championship game was off to an interesting start as number 1 Penn State was somehow up by 2 before I even touched the ball. After Brody Brett made an amazing catch, we finished off the drive with an Ostrander touchdown as he continued to make big plays for us. Our defense was shutting down the Nittany Lions so far, and Ostrander was the man of the hour as he torched the secondary, and I hit him in stride for a huge touchdown pass. We had a chance to jump out to a big lead before halftime, but then everything went downhill. Penn State's cornerback played me, and after I got blocked in the back, I could only watch as he was able to take it all the way to the house for a pick 6. We were in another dogfight late in the third quarter, but I delivered the huge play that we needed as I rolled out and threw a rope to Vanderbrush for a massive gain. On 3rd and goal, I showed ridiculous acceleration to avoid the pressure and throw on the run for a big Brody Brett touchdown. Up 8 with time running down, we just had to crush the clock, but I couldn't convert on 3rd down, and Penn State of course tied it up at the last second to take us to overtime. We had to score a touchdown to stay alive, and a playoff spot was on the line. On 1st and goal, I found my number 1 target Vanderbrush over the middle to tie things up, and we had the ball to start the second overtime. I refused to come up with anything short of a touchdown as Bostic got us inside the 10, and I did what I do best to put us up by 7 and put the pressure on Penn State. Drew Aller was able to respond to tie up the game, but the Nittany Lions got nothing in the 3rd overtime, so all we needed was points to send us to the playoffs. I was not going to risk throwing a pick, so I just scrambled down the sideline to get us into position for the game-winning field goal. I'd won my 2nd Big Ten championship, and my heroic performance allowed me to steal my 2nd Heisman Trophy. Our win also earned us the top spot in the college football playoff. Our playoff semifinal game against North Carolina got off to a bad start as I fumbled on the first drive. The Tar Heels had a 99 overall offense, and we were going to have to score points to match them as we got going with a big completion to Vanderbrush, who had filled Luke Lachey's shoes admirably this season. I punched it in with a quick throw to Craig Ostrander, but the Tar Heels answered right back, so we were going to have to keep our foot on the gas to stay in this game. Vanderbrush was having a monster game already as he got loose again for a big gain, and inside the red zone, I had nobody open, so I got out of the pocket as usual and cruised my way into the end zone to knot it up at 14. Our defense was not doing anything to stop North Carolina, so it was crucial that we score before halftime. I got loose and juked my way down for a big gain on the scramble, and I was playing spotless football in the biggest game of my life as I hit Bostic up the seam to keep us moving. Brody Brett was able to create just enough separation to catch the go-ahead touchdown before halftime, and this game was an absolute barn burner. Neither one of these defenses could get a stop as I continued to dice up the Tar Heels for big gains on the ground and through the air. I was a perfect 11 for 11 throwing the ball on the day as we worked our way down to the goal line and Caleb Johnson punched it in to tie it back up. Our defense finally was able to come up with a stop. Time was running low as I hit Ostrander on the play action pass, and with under 2 minutes left, we punched it in to take the lead. Carolina drove down the field for one last chance to tie it up, but on 4th down, they fell short, and I showed that I absolutely deserved the Heisman as I only had one incompletion in a dominant playoff performance. We were moving on to the first national championship game in school history. Our national championship foe was Syracuse, and they sported another high-powered offense that jumped out to a lead immediately. I would have to have another great game to hang with the firepower of the Orange, and Vanderbrush had been there for me all season as we drove right down the field. Caleb Johnson finished off the drive right with a touchdown, but it looked like this was going to be another shootout. I was just fine with that, and even in the heavy rain, I was able to throw an absolute dot across my body and hit Vanderbrush for a deep gain. It didn't look like anything was open on 1st and goal, so I dumped dumped it off to Johnson, and he was able to work some magic to get into the end zone. We finally got a stop and continued to prove that Iowa is tight end university as Vanderbrush was racking up yards once again. We capped off the drive with an easy touchdown pass to Jacob Bostic, and after our defense forced a turnover, we were in a great position. I got out of the pocket and put us inside the 5 with a quick scramble down the sideline, and on 2nd and goal, Syracuse could not contain me as I escaped again and taunted the defense before scoring yet another touchdown. Syracuse couldn't keep up their offensive pace from the first half, and all we had to do was run some clock, but I wanted to let it rip in the last game of my college career. Craig Ostrander wasn't able to hold on to this absolute dot of a deep ball, but after another defensive stop, we iced the game with a Caleb Johnson run, and I had finally won a national championship for the Iowa Hawkeyes. I had accomplished everything I could in the hardest quarterback road to glory ever attempted on YouTube, winning 2 Heismans and a national championship with a 5'5" quarterback and 0 to 100 sliders. Thanks for watching Patrick Fitzpatrick's journey, and be sure to subscribe before you go. Have a good one. Peace.